Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Let's see how this goes. Let's see. Notifying viewers that I'm live. Alright, so I don't know where we're going to begin with this. I feel like doing a fucking sermon, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll get started with that. Anyway, today's sermon, I guess, is going to be on everyone's favorite topic. What is everyone's favorite topic? What do we like to talk about? We like to talk about specific motherfuckers. Okay, so here is just something that needs to be addressed. And like I always say, I'm going to attempt to keep this live a little bit on the shorter side. This way it's not so much of a hassle to upload it onto YouTube. What do I have to say? Specific motherfuckers. What a lot of you on the specific motherfucker manifestation journey fail to do, even though you might understand it, is change your belief systems about relationships in general. And everyone you pushed out means that if you have an app running for relationships, a specific motherfucker is going to show up and reflect back how you view relationships because they're showing up in your relationship sector. So when you are just affirming for a specific motherfucker and you don't have any relationship detrimental beliefs in the background, that's fine. Shit'll work, okay? But a lot of times, more often than not, motherfuckers want to slap a band-aid on something that requires stitches. And manifestation is easy. Creation is finished. The ideal version of any specific motherfucker already exists. But when you have in your awareness a dominant story, a dominant belief system in regards to relationships that is contradicting the relationship that you want, shit is not going to pan out, or you might get a little bit of movement and then the same old story might come into play. So let's expand on this a little bit more, and this is about identity shifting. If you saw one of my recent videos, I don't remember, a few days ago I posted, and I'm talking about how in each app, each sector of your experience, you are behaving like a different individual. So in your money app, you're behaving in a certain way. In your relationship app, you're behaving in a certain way. In your friendship app, you are behaving in a specific way, which is fucking acting, okay? You have a general self-concept, which is your fucking phone, right? Your general self-concept is how you view yourself as a whole. It's how you are experiencing your day-to-day life in the 3D. Are things going your way? Do you get along with individuals? Do you have a good time typically? Are things good for you? Are you feeling good about yourself? If you've answered yes, in my opinion, you don't need to work on self-concept. If your situation is isolated to, in this case, what I'm speaking about right now is relationships. Our situation is isolated to, in this case, what I'm speaking about right now is relationships. You're manifesting an SP. You have a good self-concept. Is isolated to, in this case, what I'm speaking about right now is relationships. You're manifesting an SP. You have a good self-concept. You eat motherfucker that is isolated to them. Belief system is in the background, which is an app. So it's up to you to figure out which one that is. If you see three specific. Now, if you have a pattern in relationships that is not your self-concept, because you might know that you're the shit. You might have a good awareness that you are desirable, you are attractive, you have a lot of good things going for you, but in your relationship sector, there is this story playing out. based off of an app that is running in the background. And how you can know that it is isolated to your relationship sector is if everything else in your experience is going well, but in relationships there's just one pattern that seems to keep coming up. That's how you tell the difference, okay? So just to break it down. Now, what a lot of individuals are doing is they are affirming for SP. So they're getting movement with SP and they're getting a desired version of them showing up, but they cannot maintain it. Now, when you understand that manifestation does not shut off, that this is a lifestyle, it's not just a quick fix. You don't just snap your fingers. I cannot snap my fingers and I don't give a fuck because that ain't important to me. I don't know how to snap my fingers. I just go like this with my nails, okay? That's how I snap my fingers. So you snap your fingers, okay? And SP is here, it's done, we're in a perfect relationship. Yes, you can do that because the only moment is now and creation is finished. So every moment is brand new and technically the past and those relationship patterns don't exist. However, what happens a lot is that the ego is still entrenched in that story about relationships because the ego can only ascertain something based upon things that it knows, things that are familiar to it. So if you are familiar with being ignored, neglected, cheated on, manipulated, being mistreated, being abused, if you are familiar with that, even if those are situations that you don't want, your ego is just so used to it that it's going to keep giving you these thoughts in regards to SP because SP is showing up in your relationship sector. And if you don't address what the cause is, and it keeps coming up because like I said, you snap your fingers and like, yes, every moment is brand new. You can have that version, but if there is a story running in the background that has been going on likely for years and it's the same pattern, different faces, but the same shit always seems to be playing out, that is the time when you need to address that. And in my opinion, one, not to even focus on an SP until they address that. Now, yes, you can affirm for SP. You can do whatever the fuck you want in the 3D because it ain't my business, okay? That's your business. But the important part of the situation is that relationship belief system, because the SP can show up because you robotically affirmed, you did a visualization, you fucking jerked off and you said their name and then they called you the next day, whatever the fuck it is, okay? That shit will work. But then they show up and the ego is like, remember 2 weeks ago, remember last Thursday, remember when this happened, remember when your ex did this. That is the thing that you want to get rid of. And how you do that is you say, you know what, fuck the SP. The SP manifestation ain't fucking going anywhere because it cannot, because all timelines are finished, right? Creation is done, it's complete. There is no assembly required. That is not going anywhere. But if you do not address what caused the tumultuous situation to occur between you and the SP, the same shit is likely to happen again because you never changed your identity of how you are behaving in your relationship sector. And this has nothing to do with your self-concept, because motherfuckers can be like, but I'm confident, I'm good looking, I have a lot going for me. Oh yeah, then why is the SP ignoring you? Oh, because you have a shit belief system. You have a shit app running in the background in regards to relationships. And so you're confident in all these other areas, but with SP, you just cannot seem to get it together. And you're highly triggered and you're emotional and you're looking at the 3D and you're looking at the SP to validate something that only you can validate within yourself. Because remember, the SP is you, so they're only reflecting you. So you're not changing the SP. You're never changing an SP. You're changing who you are being in that identity. So let's do a random fucking pop quiz, okay? So SP, you and SP, right? Because you've been sitting in a closet listening to fucking binaural beats, fucking lotus position and fucking doing mudras and shit. SP shows up. Hey, what's up? You want to hang out? You're like, oh, it worked. Okay. But the background issue, the story that created the conflict or whatever the fuck transpired between you and SP in the 3D, is still running. So your ego, because you never addressed it, you never trained the fucking ego dog, the dog is now like, whoa, but SP is not safe, because in relationships we do not view ourselves as safe, because the ego is holding on to something from the past, because it can only grab from the past. It cannot grab from something that it doesn't know, because that's not the job of the ego. That's the job of your higher mind. And it is saying, this is going to happen again. We must protect you. So it's saying, oh, SP showed up perfectly now. Yeah, but they hiding something. Oh, they got some shady shit going on. Oh, you better not let this shit happen again. And you're still identifying as the version of you who is in fear of the egoistic monkey mind thoughts. That's how you're behaving. So you've affirmed for SP. The SP shows up, and then they're acting perfectly for a week, and then one day goes by and that motherfucker don't hit you up, okay? And you're like, oh my god, what's your immediate fucking reaction? You got to be honest with yourself. What is your immediate jump? What's your jump off right there? Where's your jump off? Is it, oh yeah, they're probably busy. Maybe their grandma died. Maybe they're busy at work, or, oh, they're, I think they're going to propose to me. They're probably out ring shopping. Okay, whatever, right? That's option one. Option two is, there's probably someone else. Oh, they don't give a fuck about me. They forgot about me. They're not even thinking about me. That's option two, okay? Where does your mind immediately go? And if your mind immediately went to a bad scenario, this means that you have not gotten rid of the shit belief system, because your belief systems, your dominant belief systems, are what's powering, are what's charging up your identity in every faculty of your experience. So in your relationship sector, if you are immediately going to the jump off of, they don't want to be with you, something negative, there must be someone else, or whatever the fuck, okay? That belief, that shit belief, is still going on. It's still going strong, which shows me that you are now, even though your self-concept is good and you amazing and you the shit, right? And you jerk off to pixie yourself. Oh, but SP doesn't want you because your ex, when you were 13 years old, cheated on you, and your ego held that hostage. And it's saying, this motherfucker, because they're showing up in that same sector, they're gonna do that shit, so I had to protect you, so I gotta feed you these bullshitty ass fucking thoughts and try to get you to stay away from that. So I'm gonna tell you, oh, this motherfucker's up to something. Remember what this motherfucker did when you were 13? You remember that shit? Yeah, we don't want that to happen, right? And it's your duty in those moments, when that old story comes up, is to say, who am I being in the moment? In your relationship sector, fuck the other apps, okay? Because the other apps are working fine, right? They're running smooth. There's no detrimental stories, okay? Or there might be. I don't know. It depends on the individual. But if your immediate jump off fucking reaction is something negative in any sector, but we're talking about SPs right now, if your immediate initial is like, oh no, something bad, that means you have a belief system. That means there's something going on that you maybe are aware of, but you just haven't put enough effort into changing that belief, or it could be something that you're not even aware is going on. So for any area of your experience, if your immediate like jump off, I don't know why I keep saying that, is something bad, why? Right? Why is this showing up in your relationship sector? Oh, I see. This happened when your first relationship cheated on you when you were 13, and for some reason your ego didn't let go of that. So now what is your job? Your job is to get rid of that belief system. Now, I don't know how any other motherfucker's mind works, but you have to figure out what works for you to get rid of that belief system. So first off, if you're triggered in the 3D, in your relationship sector, you're gonna understand it ain't about this motherfucker, because that motherfucker ain't shit, because you're the shit. This motherfucker is just reflecting you. So you affirm for them, they show up perfectly for a week, and then the slightest thing can happen and you immediately jump off to the fucking bad story. So it's your job to be the awareness behind the thought and say, oh, look where the ego is trying to lead me. Is this a place I want to go? And if the answer is no, then you have to be disciplined and you have to understand, yeah, a thought came up, I didn't like it, it's making me feel a certain type of way that I don't like either. And it's my job as a conscious creator to say, it stops here, it stops now. I will not allow these thoughts to permeate my relationship sector ever again, and it starts now. And the old version of me, the identity who perhaps had some shit story going on, whether it's cheating, lying, manipulation, narcissism, abuse, whatever, yeah, that might have happened, but who am I? I'm brand new, because in this now moment, I am brand new. I'm brand spanking new. I'm fresh, motherfucker. You know what? SP didn't hit you up for a full day because of something good, or because something, they had a death in the family, or some shit happened, something that had nothing to do with you. Okay, you just you spin it. Yeah, they'll get back to me because they can't live without me, because I'm the love of their life. You have to catch it in the moment, and that is how you catch yourself. It is not in the moments that shit is calm and everything is good, right? Because there's nothing, it's like still waters, right? Ain't nothing going on. But then like the slightest wave comes up and you're gonna freak the fuck out, because you've always freaked the fuck out, because your ego is trying to scare you to not step into the new identity, because the ego is familiar with the old identity. And that's the job of the ego. But your job as God is to know that the ego is there to work for you. You don't bend over and spread your cheeks for the ego. The ego is your guard dog. He works for you. She works for you. It works for you. However you want to view the ego, you say, you are my servant. I am the master. And I see what you're trying to do. You want to protect me, but I got to teach you. I got to train you. And what we're going to do right now, and this in every moment that you're triggered, you're going to fucking do this shit. This is the old story. I am aware that I am a new motherfucker right now because I say so. And I am always chosen first in my relationships. Everyone always shows up as loyal and monogamous for me. My relationships always work out perfectly, because in the now moment, that is who I declare that I am, and so it is. And you have to do it in the moment, especially the times that you are triggered, because a lot of times motherfuckers will manifest the SP, and the SP will come sailing in, hey, what's up? But then the old belief system kicks in and the same shit will happen. And I have seen this play out in different types of scenarios, because the individual never addressed the belief system, or they thought they did, but they didn't do it enough, because they were so fixated on affirming and visualizing and manifesting for SP that they put the SP manifestation ahead of their relationship sector manifestation. But what you're not understanding, or maybe you do, but you're just not applying it, is that the SP, when you have a successful, healthy relationship program running as your app, the SP comes included. It's like, motherfucker, included. You have a healthy relationship, this motherfucker comes included. And it's just going to bring in the SP in that perfect way anyway, whether you are affirming for them or not. But you have to put yourself first, because it's your universe. It's not about SP. You are looking for the SP as a sense of security and validation in your relationship sector, because the ego doesn't feel safe. The ego feels threatened, and then the ego gets a rush if the SP sends you a text message. And do you really want to be living your life like that? Because let me tell you, couples that have been together for years and they're happy, yeah, they might get excited. They still might get butterflies to their purse, like, oh, that's so cute. But they're not like, oh my God, I can't believe they text me. Is you stupid? You in a relationship with a motherfucker who is the love of your life, you're the love of their life, and you're gonna like let's think about this, okay? And you're gonna be like, oh my God, I can't believe they text me, and you're gonna get high off of that? Something ain't right with that, friend, because A healthy relationship, yes, your partner is going to be texting you and it's going to feel natural. It's not going to seem like it's so unusual. Do you see the difference? So you can affirm for the SP and the SP will come through, but if you don't address the root issue, especially those of you that have a relationship program running in the background, the same shit is likely to happen again. So you have to come first. You have to, number one, stop yourself from being triggered. The only thing that can trigger you in the 3D is a thought, because everything in the 3D is neutral. So if SP didn't text you for a day, that's still a neutral circumstance, but it's what perception are you viewing that neutral circumstance? Are you viewing it from the perception of the ego that's saying, oh my God, something must be wrong? Or are you viewing it from the God self, like, okay, everything is fine because I know that I am this motherfucker and this motherfucker is me and they're in love with me and they can't live without me and they'll get back to me when they get back to me. You have to be aware of the thoughts that you are thinking, especially when you are triggered. You have to figure out a way that you know calms you down. If you feel you are about to spiral, you have to stop it. And I know that these emotions can be, you know, little sidewinders and they're coming in, they're being sneaky and they're just trying to like kidnap you and shit. But you have to be in that moment. No, the thought comes first. I see what you're doing, emotions. I'm going to let these emotions process, but I know who I am. I am the Lord and there is none else and everything is perfect right now. And you ground yourself. You find a way to stabilize your nervous system, whatever way works for you. I don't know what way works for you and what you would, okay? So whether you want to take deep breaths, whether you want to go for a walk, whether you want to go for a drive, whatever the fuck you need to do, okay? You woo-saw that and you say, I understand this is the old story, but I ain't that motherfucker no more. And I choose to be the motherfucker who is chosen and desired and prioritized above all else. That is who I am now. And it's going to seem fucking weird for some of you the first time you do this because you have not a shred of evidence that anything has changed. But the more you get into this, the more you're able to calm yourself down, especially the moments when you feel like you're about to spiral, your nervous system is going to become used to you being calm when the thought of SP pops up instead of okay, because for what? Why should you be shocked that SP is hitting you up? You gonna be shocked? No, you're gonna be like, of course they're hitting me up. It should feel natural, okay? And that's the difference. So you're gonna be mindful. If you feel like you're starting to spiral, you let the emotions out, who gives a fuck, but you keep your mind focused on the goal, which is I am always chosen and prioritized. I'm in a healthy, loving, committed relationship. That is who I am in this moment. You ground yourself, and it's going to take the repetition, especially if that belief system has been built up for years. That's it. Because yes, I'm going to say again, you can make the decision right now to say that you're done with shit relationship programs, and it can happen. And that might work for some of you. But from what I've seen from a lot of individuals, that relationship belief system is there and it requires your attention because you manifested the SP, but you're not able to maintain that version of them because the version of you that is operating in your relationship app is not solid in the healthy relationship. It feels like you're acting, right? And oh shit, oh damn, I kind of like that shit. Fuck yeah, gunslinger shit. Oh shit, Wild West up in the hazy. Thank you, whoever said that. So you have to be aware of who you're identifying as. Because you have a different identity, you have multiple fucking personalities, and so do I, and I fucking love it. Okay? Who are you identifying as? SP don't hit you up for one day after they showed up perfectly for a week. Are you saying they're gonna hit me up because they're just probably busy with work or their grandma died or whatever the fuck, okay? And you're just like, no sweat, right? There you go. That's one way of being. Another way of being is, oh my God, did I say something? Did I do something? And you have to be mindful in those moments, especially when you're in the process of changing a belief system. You have to be mindful. And the only way you're going to do this is self-discipline. You have to realize that you are not the thoughts. Yes, thoughts create. Thoughts have power. Thoughts are energy. But if you are allowing a motherfucker to, right, okay, here we go, hold on. Oh, we need, hold on, I'm gonna take some water and then we're gonna, I gave a good analogy earlier, and I think I want to use it again. But hold on, let me, I gotta be discreet with some of this shit here, because, Okay, so, now that we had a little break, you have to be mindful that yes, thoughts create, but you are the awareness behind the thoughts. So you are always in control, right? You get to choose. So if your homie comes by and they got dog shit on the bottom of their fucking sneakers, are you gonna let them walk around in your house like that? Or are you gonna tell them, oh, bro, you got dog shit, you ain't gonna traipse through my fucking humble abode with that shit on your fucking shoe? What are you doing in that situation? It is the same principle as a shit thought. Are you gonna allow that shit thought to just carry you away with it? Or are you gonna say, whoa, you're not gonna come up in here with those type of thoughts. I don't know who the fuck you thought you were. You got dog shit all over you, and you think you gonna, bro, I'm God. What? And you have to train the ego. The ego will get more familiar with your new story. I posted a video about this as well recently. The ego, once you have incorporated the new story so much, the ego is then going to start to defend the new story. So at a certain point, when you've been mindful, when you feel that you're going to start to spiral and you're like, okay, let me just let these emotions pass through like ships in the night, and you keep your thoughts in alignment, you ground yourself, you do nervous system regulation, whatever works to calm you down. Then you're in a neutral place, and you go in with your belief system, okay? And affirmations work. They work across the board for everyone, because everyone is always talking to themselves in their mind, and you have to keep saying these affirmations to yourself, because then pretty soon those affirmations about the new relationship belief system, your ego is going to become familiar with that, and then it's going to defend the new story. And oh fuck yeah, holla, I love me a fitted hat. And then, thank you for all the gifts, guys. I'm just speaking. I'm doing a sermon. I ain't even looking at comments, because I got, I start with the sermon. I gotta air shit out. Fuck yeah. So your ego is going to become accustomed to the new story, because you are the one in charge. You are God. You are the master, and you're training the ego, which is the dog. And you're saying, no, puppy. This is what we're doing today. I am chosen in relationships. I am prioritized in relationships. Relationships always work out for me. And the ego, oh, fuck you mean? And you'd be like, no, it's okay. And the more you do this, the easier it's going to become. But from what I've seen across the board, again, if there's a belief system that has been going on sometimes for years, affirmations, yes, they work, but you have to understand what you're affirming for, because individual A and individual Z might both have a shit relationship program app running in the background, but individual A is thinking that they always attract abusers, so that's what they attract. Individual Z thinks that they always attract cheaters, and that's what they attract. You have to see what the root is, so you can center your affirmation around the opposite of that. And then you be mindful of the thoughts, especially when you're starting to spiral, and you say, okay, I understand what's happening here, it's fine. And the best way for me to describe it, so as to not take anything personally, is to understand that it's just a computer. Your mind is a computer. It's a high-tech computer, okay, in my opinion. And when you understand that the computer is just grabbing at things that it knows, right? If you type in a Google search and you've searched that thing before, it's just going to keep coming up in the search history. It's just hey, this is what you recently viewed. It's the same thing with your mind. Nothing is personal. Emotions are there to make the 3D experience seem more real, so you take it personally, but emotions are just woo-saw those motherfuckers out, and be calm and grounded in yourself. Know that you are in the place of power, and then address with affirmations or a visualization or meditation your relationship sector. What is the root issue there? It's different for everyone. What is it? Isolated to that, okay. And then you start affirming the opposite, and you make it your duty to say these affirmations, not about SP, although you can do whatever the fuck you want, but you can affirm for SP. But if you don't address the root issue with the relationship affirmations, the SPs show up and then the same shit is likely to happen again. So you have to make the relationship affirmations a priority. That's my opinion. And you have to make it a priority to really monitor your thoughts. And no, you don't have to continually do this, right? Because the belief systems, the apps that you have running in your subconscious mind that you are having a good story about, remember, there's no good or bad. It's just your perception of good or bad, but a fucking app that you deem as good, beneficial for you. You're not constantly affirming for that. You're immediate, right? Like I said in the beginning, what is your go-to? What is your jump off, right? If something occurs, right? You know you're a good cook, okay? Cooking, you a chef in the kitchen, you a hoe in the bedroom, and you a fucking lady or gentleman in the fucking parlor, whatever the fuck it is, okay? You know that you are good in the kitchen and you burn the chicken wings. Your immediate thought is not going to be, oh my God, I fucked shit up. Oh, manifestation is bullshit. I must not know what I'm doing. No, that's not going to be your immediate thought. And you're not constantly affirming that you're a good cook because you already know it. Your identity in your fucking kitchen sector is beneficial to you. And you're not always affirming for it. So don't think that you constantly have to be affirming for this, because the idea is to get yourself to where it's neutral. And that is what Neville Goddard talks about when he says feeling is a secret. It's the naturalness. It's not the emotion. It's the naturalness of how you sense in your physical vehicle when that sector of your experience arises in the 3D. So you're cooking, you burn the chicken wings, but you have a solid story that you're a good cook. Whatever, who cares? I'll give this one to the dog, right? Does not fucking matter. You're not going to care. You're not going to think about it, but you're also not constantly affirming, I'm a great chef. I'm a great chef. No, because you already know that. But especially when you're changing a belief system, you have to be on top of it in the beginning. It's like the analogy that I like to use is, say, when you first learned to tie your fucking shoes, you had to think about it, right? You had to understand the process. And then you did it again and you're like, am I doing it right? And then you did it again, you're like, okay, maybe I got the hang of this. And then now you could tie your fucking shoelaces blindfolded. You're not constantly thinking, how do I tie my shoes? No. So it's the repetition, because the mind is going to respond to repetition, and the ego is not sitting there telling you that you need to buy Velcro sneakers because you don't know how to tie your shoes, because you're solid in that. So that if a motherfucker came up to you right now and said, motherfucker, you don't know how to tie your shoes, you're going to be like, you stupid? Like, you see, and the ego is going to defend that because it's used to you being a motherfucker that knows how to tie your shoes. So the shit will get easier, but in the beginning, when you're first learning to do something, you have to be on top of it. You have to understand what works for you. And this is why, I never tell anyone exactly what to do, because I don't know how your mind works. I don't know how you calm yourself down if you feel like you're going to start to spiral. I don't know what puts you in a calm mood. I don't know if you have a relationship app that is saying you get cheated on. I don't know if you have a relationship app that says you attract abusers. I don't fucking know. You know that. So it's your job to figure out, number one, what calms you down, okay? Because you're going to use that whenever you feel like you're going to get triggered. You can calm yourself down the best way that you know how, and you're going to ground yourself. And you're going to say, I understand what this is. I'm allowing these emotions to process. They're flowing through me. I'm the center of all creation. I'm the universe. I am all that is. Everything right now is wonderful. And that's what it is. And you tell yourself I am statements. And if I am statement is too much for you, you can phrase it as a question. Why is everything so wonderful? Why is everything so perfect? Why am I so amazing that I'm aware that this is the old story leaving my system once and for all? However the fuck you want to word it. But you're the one that has to be on top of your thoughts. And throughout the day, you don't want to let your mind go to this idle chatter either, because it's the same thing, but it's especially pertinent to incorporate these practices when you are knowing that you are about to spiral because you're triggered. And these triggers will become less and less, and the more that you just remain knowing that the emotions don't matter, can't fuck your manifestation up, you are in control, and the ego is just attached to the old story, which no longer exists, because every moment is now. You say, in this moment I am brand new, I understand what this is. Who saw that shit out? And The more you do this, the easier it's going to become. But a lot of you are just looking for content. You're looking for a new technique, and you're not applying it. When manifestation is simple, it's very simple. This is why things that you have no resistance to, things that you have no detrimental backstory in regards to, that's why these things pop up instantly. You think of a purple cow shows up because you don't give a fuck about the purple cow. Your ego has no story about a purple cow, unless it does, and that's on you. But it's the ego and the belief systems that are getting in the way. So once you get rid of that belief system that was causing the mayhem, it doesn't matter anything about your SP. Your SP showing up perfectly for you is a byproduct for that. But you have to address the belief system first, because it's your belief system. It's not their belief system. They have no choice but to bend over, spread their cheeks, and do whatever the fuck you think they're going to do based off of your belief systems and your perception of them. Okay. All right. So that was for motherfuckers on the SP journey. I really, that was my intention, that it clears up a lot of this shit, because I've seen it so many times that, yes, affirmations work. Yes, you can manifest without going and doing anything with the belief system if you just declare it as done now. But if it was like that for everyone, there would be no manifestation community about techniques, because everyone would just be doing that. And yes, some individuals can do that. They might be able to do that in one area, but maybe not in another area. It just depends. So you have to figure out where you're at, and then you have to do something that is specific to you. There is no one solution for everyone. The one thing that works for everyone, though, is being mindful of your thoughts, because you have an inner dialogue. Everyone has an inner dialogue, whether they can visualize, whether they feel like scripting, whether they want to make a vision board. That depends on the individual, but it's your thoughts, and it's your thoughts in the moment that matter, because you can sit there for 6 hours a day affirming, but then if the rest of the time you're thinking poorly, you canceled that out. So everyone is thinking. That's why affirmations, especially in a relationship sector, I recommend just one, if you don't want to do a whole bunch. Okay, just one. All of my relationships have always been perfect. Everyone always shows up as loyal and trustworthy and respectful of me and my time. Everyone always values me. If that's all you did, if all you did was remember to repeat that to yourself as often as you can, and you were mindful when you were about to start spiraling, how to calm yourself, center yourself, and then understand that's just the old story, you would see shit move a whole lot faster than you have been. So I don't know how long the fuck I was talking. Oh my God. Every time I get on here, it always feels like I'm talking, because time doesn't fucking exist really, but it feels like I'm talking for like 5 minutes, and it's like 30 minutes goes by. But it just goes to show how trippy time is. So let's see. All right. Could you explain why past desires didn't manifest even though you desired them? Well, how do you know they didn't manifest? Everything already is manifested, but your awareness is on that they didn't manifest. So that's the answer to your question. And here's the thing, okay? When you are manifesting something, right? When you make a decision, this is what I want, and you are really tuned in and on your imagination in the thoughts of the thing that you want, you are going to start to see the 3D evidence of that, okay? Whether the whole thing comes in at once or you start seeing bits and pieces of it, because your awareness is now placed on that thing. And because your mind is programmed to, seek out patterns, it's like, this motherfucker thought about this, so let me find other bits and pieces of it in their reality. So it could be that you desired them, but like you just said, they're past desires, but they didn't manifest. So what your awareness is placed on is that they didn't manifest. So of course your mind is like, okay, well, it didn't manifest, so it's looking for evidence of that. So I would suggest setting an intention and saying that I always see evidence that my desires have been fully manifested. And if now your awareness is placed on seeing the evidence, you know, even if it's just a thought, remember, thoughts do create. Even if you just start saying that, you're going to start to see evidence of the thing already being done, because everything already exists now. It's just if your awareness is placed on it not being there, then that's what has to play out for you. You're welcome. Thank you for all the gifts, everyone. Woohoo! Ooh, lightning bolt. I love me some lightning. I love thunderstorms, let me tell you. Ooh, fuck yeah. Thunder, lightning. Oh, it's so amazing. How to manifest a new home? Well, figure out where you want to live first. And if it's an exact home, then, you know, it depends how your mind works. You either want to visualize yourself in there. You would look at maybe pictures of it on the real estate site, or you would like drive in that neighborhood or take walks in that neighborhood and imagine what it's like to come home to that specific address. Or you can just affirm. If you're not a visualizer, you can just say, I'm so happy that I'm living at whatever the address is. Or if it's a neighborhood, then you would just do the same thing and you would just, you know, say the neighborhood instead of a specific address. GPS. I mean, okay. Here's the thing with the GPS. Once you make a decision, right? It is like you type in an address in the navigation. This is where we're going. It's not your job to figure out the route to get there. It's the job of your higher self. And this is where trust and inspired action and intuition come in. So if you're guided to do something that seems out of the ordinary, but it feels right to do it in the moment, like you just feel like a natural pull to do this, likely that is leading you to your desire. Because remember, manifestation, you know, it really can seem like it's magical or weird because it doesn't make logical sense. But a lot of times when you are set on something, a particular thing, and you know it with conviction, you say, okay, that's it, I don't care, whatever, just it's already occurred, so whatever needs to play out in the 3D, I'll just be guided to do it. You have to trust your instincts with that. And the way that you trust your instincts rather than trusting an egoistic fear is, an ego fear is going to try to keep you inhibited, and it's going to feel constricted in your vessel, and the intuition is just going to feel open. It's going to feel like the natural next thing for you to do. So I would suggest for anyone in here, no matter what you're manifesting, you could do this right now, or you don't have to. You could do this in your own time. But I'd recommend to just get really relaxed. However, you know, whatever the fuck, you have a drink, you have whatever the fuck you need to do to relax. You go for a drive, you go for a walk, whatever. You just chill. And you just say, you know what, I'm open to receiving guidance. What is my next step? And then see what happens. But that it does require a level of trust. And this is why, you know, a lot of times individuals that are very logically inclined, they're like what? So if you are logically inclined, I would suggest affirmations, because you know that you're talking to yourself. You are aware logically that, okay, yes, I know what my next natural step is. And just keep saying that. I know what my next natural step is. Just say it and see what happens. And you will be guided there, whether you're logical or not, but it can help to bring you more in a place of like, okay, like, yes, like this is working because I'm putting in input in, right? But you still might not know on paper what your next natural step is, but the more you say that, you know, with everything, every time you think of your desire and you don't know how you're going to get there, I know what my next natural step is. Boom, that's it. And that can sometimes help quieting the, you know, the logical minds. How to properly imprint your subconscious mind with robotic affirmations. You know, this is different for everyone because everyone's mind is differently. Sometimes you can just say something once and it'll be done. But with robotic affirmations, you know, I have noticed that when you feel like you don't need to affirm anymore, and again, it's not an emotion, it's just something that you sense in your vessel, you're like, I've affirmed enough, all right, that's it. When you're kind of like, okay, your mind has been saturated, okay? But if you want to, you know, if you're not at that place yet, I would suggest listening to sleep recordings of your own voice with the affirmations, because your conscious mind is shut off when you're sleeping and the affirmations are going directly into your subconscious. And then you would pick one affirmation that you can affirm to yourself throughout the day, depending on what you want, and just say it over and over again. But a lot of times when your subconscious mind has been thoroughly saturated, you're just going to notice that your affirmations are just coming to you naturally, and those are just your natural thoughts, and you don't have to think about it, and you really don't even feel like affirming anymore. Well, if you don't want to work and you want to get paid to exist, then that should be in your manifestation routine. Whether it's through an affirmation or you have a visual of you just seeing money in your bank balance, or you doing whatever you would be doing in regards to that. You know, I don't know how everyone's mind works, okay? For me, I'm super visual. So my most successful manifestations have just been me picturing a scene, and then it happens like exactly like that in the 3D. But not everyone's mind works that way. So I would definitely, you know, for everyone, I would suggest affirmations, especially if you're having like shit thoughts throughout the day in regards to anything, because everyone has an internal dialogue. So what is your main thing? You know, what's the main thing you want? And here's something else that motherfuckers talk about. Oh, should you manifest more than one thing at a time? And you're manifesting everything. So theoretically, you're manifesting multiple things at one time, because you have all these apps running in the background. No matter what, you're always manifesting, right? So when someone says that, oh, you should focus on one affirmation, or you should focus on this and then go to that, it's like, no, because you're always manifesting. So you might as well figure out the things that you want. And I suggest making a sleep tape with your affirmations of how you want your dream life to look, whether you write it in story format or whether you just say it in affirmation format. Listen to that as you're sleeping, or if it's uncomfortable for you to listen to that while you're sleeping, you know, some individuals, it disturbs their sleep, and that's fine. Listen to it as often as you can, when you're in the car, when you're at the gym, when you're cleaning, when you're cooking, when you're doing something that doesn't require your conscious mind's attention. Just listen to it, okay? How the fuck did motherfuckers memorize the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag, right? Whatever that fucking bullshit was. There was a repetition, okay? I could say that shit right now. I don't even know what the fuck it means. I don't even care, but it's a repetition. So, okay, do you know the Pledge of Allegiance? Yes, I ain't even gonna bat a fucking eye on that. So that's how you want your belief systems to be, like you just know it inside and out. How can you remove logic and resistance, especially on things like paperwork? I mean, okay, listen, I'm not super logical. I never have been. So for me, I don't really understand logic, like in terms of manifestation, but the way that I can tell you to do that is to just be like, I know what I want. I know that I have created things in the past just by assuming that they were true. And everyone here, whether they're logically inclined or not, has had an experience that they just knew something was going to happen, or they had a fear that something was going to happen, or maybe they had a successful manifestation. No matter what it looked like, big or small, whatever. You know you've done it in the past. You say, I know what I want is already done, and I have proof that creation is finished because I've experienced it before. And then you would just bring up a scenario that you have experienced to kind of prove to your logical mind, to your ego, like, listen, I don't need to do anything because it's already done and I have the evidence. That is the best thing that I can offer to someone who is very logically inclined, because it's like now they kind of have proof, right? Whether you manifested a fucking cup of coffee, whether you manifested a house, whether you I don't care what you manifested. You just say, I have proof that I don't need to do anything but just assume that it's true. Here's the proof, and you go to the thing that you successfully manifested before, and then you say, therefore, it is done now. What I want is done now. Okay, so you know what's so funny? I see that, and I've heard that for the Ho'oponopono, whatever that is. I don't know how you pronounce that. I've heard that, but listen, okay, when you're saying forgive you and your SP, okay, like, I understand there's some situations with SPs that you might want an apology, your ego might want an apology or whatever, or you might feel like you need to forgive them, but they are nothing. So it's you forgiving yourself, okay, for allowing you to adhere to the old belief system and project that onto them. So I would suggest, remember, it all starts with you. So if you're just saying, I forgive SP, but your ego is be like, whoa, but this motherfucker, what did they do? Look at that. You forgive them? That might be a bit of an issue for some, okay? Now, if you want to say that and you're comfortable with that, but a lot of times, man, you need to forgive yourself for listening to an expired story that is no longer serving you. You say, wow, I can't believe I fucking fell for that bullshit. I forgive me and all the former versions of me for even allowing that to take place, and I know who I am now. It comes back to you. The SP is not, they're not doing anything, okay? Because in my opinion, if you're looking for an apology from SP, that's coming from your ego. And yes, it might be warranted to have an apology in certain cases, you know, but remember, the shitty behavior, it came from you. So the one you want to forgive is yourself. Hey, Kylie. Love you, girl. Thank you for joining. Is it morally wrong to manifest someone's boyfriend? So you understand that you're the operant power. You are creator of your universe. So what do you think of that? It's not what I think, because if you think that it's wrong, then it's going to be wrong for you. If you think it's fine, it's going to be fine for you. Remember, you're the only one that is deeming what is moral or ethical in your reality. There is no judge, right? Because if they say only God can judge me, but you're God, you're creator of your universe, then you're the only judge of that. So I do want to tell you this, whatever you're manifesting, okay, and you still have a sense that it's morally wrong to manifest that story is still going to play out. Whether you manifest them successfully or if you don't, okay, if you have in the background that it's wrong for you to manifest something, you're going to have evidence of it being wrong. So you have to clear the fucking cache. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. C-A-C-H-E, cache. You have to clear the cache. You have to say, I am the operant power. I decide what is right or wrong in my reality. Because if you're manifesting something, but you think that it's convoluted or some weird shit, right? You think it's not ethical. You can manifest it, but some other thing that is immoral might present itself to you in that manifestation, not because it's immoral, but because you brought that it's immoral or unethical to do that. So you want to be mindful. Listen, I ain't judging what no motherfucker wants, because you want what you want. It ain't my business. But I will tell you, if you think it's wrong to manifest something and you're doing it anyway, that is going to carry itself into the manifestation, because you've now attached that to the manifestation. So be mindful of that. You want what you want, period. That's it. So you got to get morals and ethics out of there, because it's what you decide. It doesn't matter what society says. You know, here's the thing, when you're manifesting an SP and you're looking at the old version, if you're, you know, finding it to be an issue to really view them as a brand new person because there is that old story that your ego is attached to, I would recommend looking at what are their most positive attributes that they have presented to you in the past, not necessarily what's going on now, but because your ego, it can only pull from the past and it's aware of positive attributes of them, you would just highlight those and not focus on the negative shit that went down between you, because it's just going to be easier for you to digest. So let's say your SP, they were, I don't know, you want to call them emotionally distant, okay? You didn't like that, so you're trying to view them in this new version of they're warm and open and loving. Your ego might try to fight you. So what's more palatable for your ego is to be like, okay, you know what, but they also had this trait where, you know, they would text me every night. Oh God, I've been talking for a fucking hour. I have this fucking puzzle piece that usually means I've been talking for an hour. And come on, you goddamn fucking robot. I ain't a robot, you motherfucker. This goddamn thing. I've been talking for a fucking hour. See, this is why I'm like, yo, time doesn't exist, because I feel like I was talking for like 20 minutes. So it's more palatable for your ego to pull a positive attribute from that story. So if you're saying that they were emotionally distant, you didn't like that, and your ego's trying to fight with you to see them as a new version, but let's say they did have positive attributes where they, I don't know, they were always courteous to you. They were always supportive of what you wanted to do with your life, right? You would focus on those attributes because your ego already has that in the awareness. And then you would just say, so-and-so, they're so in love with me. They're always supportive of everything that I want to do. You would highlight their positive traits. Okay, now some individuals are able to just be like, okay, you know, this person now shows up for me perfectly, and they can go with that. But a lot of times, if there's someone you have history with, the ego might try to fight, and then you know, you would want to go back to the beginning of the video when I post this and see how you change your relationship belief system, why you would have attracted that type of individual, and work on that. Let's see. Well, you said you're struggling in every area in your life, even after persisting. What to do? Well, first, you're going to say that you're not struggling, because look at what you just said. You're struggling even after persisting. That, do you see how that doesn't match? Okay, so if you're still saying that you're struggling, you're still identifying with a version of you who is struggling. And what persisting means is not necessarily that you're getting hell-bent on finding techniques and finding new content to consume. Persisting means, I know that this is my destination. However it unfolds in the 3D is not up to me, and I trust that it's already happened, because if it didn't already happen, I wouldn't have this desire. And then you would maybe make a ballpark statement, like saying my life is so easy and perfect, to imply that you're not struggling, because you just said you're struggling. So there you go, right? That's like, you know, when someone is truly in the wish fulfilled, they are not even aware of a struggle. They are not aware of timing. They're not aware of any opposition in the 3D. They're just like, it's done. And they are naturally putting a positive spin to everything that they're seeing in the 3D. So be mindful. This is why I said the mind can be a crazy ass motherfucking place, because you see little hidden belief systems in even your concept of manifestation. So if you're saying you're persisting but you're struggling, then do you see how that doesn't compute? All right, let's see. What are we listening to? All right, let's go. How to ignore circumstances. I mean, you don't need to ignore circumstances completely, but it's about your awareness of how you're perceiving them. So if you are having a let's just use an example. Okay, you don't like your current job. Okay, you don't like waking up, you don't like going into the office or wherever the fuck, you just don't like it. It's a circumstance, okay? But how you're viewing it, are you viewing it as like, oh no, I hate going there, I can't stand this? Or are you viewing it as, well, this is my last week here, these are my last days here, I might as well just enjoy it because my funds are already available to me, so let me just enjoy this last week of the job because I'm gonna be out. And like, do you see the difference? You could do this with any situation. It's like, you don't want to look at any 3D circumstance as a prison or a hell or a trap. Because it's still coming from the identity that you're being. So if it is for a particular, let's say it is for a job, but this could be for anything, right? But if it's for a job and you're looking at it like, yeah, you're going into work, you don't like it, you have to find a way to look at it differently. Like, this is the final times I'll be here, I might as well just enjoy myself because my money's already available and blah blah blah, and the more you do that, you're going to become less aware of the circumstance. Because remember, the 3D is already done, right? Just like creation is finished, the manifestation is already done, but you're the one that is changing the version of you to step into that manifestation. So you can't step into your ideal life if you're viewing the 3D as a fucking prison, right? Because you're just saying that you're trapped. So you don't need to ignore them. I mean, unless it's something like, okay, let's say it's a person and you can easily ignore them, fine, but if it's a circumstance that's kind of like there, you have to find a way to look at it differently. You don't want to look at anything as like final. And, circumstances can change in an instant, okay? Like you've all heard this where, someone received a phone call and then it was like, it was life-changing, okay? You could receive a miracle as you're watching this fucking live. Do you see what I'm saying? That's how malleable the 3D is. It's not permanent. It's just, it's there. Because you could touch it, right? You think that it's more real than your imagination, but everything in the 3D was once just imagined. So you can't look at the 3D as like the final chapter. You know what I mean? Does it take time to manifest? If you're aware of time, then it'll take time. If you're aware of just being in the moment and being the identity of you who's already in the fulfilled manifestation, then the time is going to go by faster. Like I said, I got on this fucking live. I did a whole fucking sermon, which I don't even remember what the fuck I said in the beginning. And I was talking for 30 minutes. I thought it was 5 minutes because I'm just in the moment. I'm not looking at time. I'm not concentrated on it. So it's going by, right? Because it really doesn't exist. It exists for 3D purposes, but it doesn't really exist when you're being in the moment. So if you put some food in the microwave and you stand there, that's going to be the longest minute of your fucking life if you're just standing there. 59, 58, 57, right? Whereas if you go off and you do something, you pour yourself a drink, you take a little sip, you know what I'm saying? And then beep, 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 the microwave is ready because you're not concentrated on it. So the weirdest thing, it's not really weird, it's kind of ironic and funny, to collapse time is you don't think about it. Because remember, everything is coming from your awareness. Everything. I'm glad you love the sermons. Yes, this will be going on YouTube. That's why I'm gonna try to keep this one a little short. Oh, you got your headphones on too? Fuck yeah, I got my little earbuds in today. Oh, that's so funny. Just as I said that, it said battery low. Fucking crazy shit. Spells. What do I think about spells? Words are spelling. I mean, like, think about it. Words are spelling. You're spelling shit out. This is why affirmations work. So if someone wants to sit there and have stones and incense and candles and whatever, I mean, that's on them. If it's gonna get them in a good mood and they're gonna be like, okay, yeah, this is working, then that works for them. But you don't need all of that. It's just your belief in the thing. So any type of ritual or spell you can do, it's your belief in it. It's not that the spell is doing anything. It's that you are still doing it, but you just have, you know, instruments that are handy that are helping you. Exactly. You don't have to lift a finger. Oh my God, 369 method. Yeah, I don't even know what the fuck that is. Like, I was hearing a whole bunch of crazy shit, like 5x55 method, and I'm like, you know, some of those things, it's really clickbait, and that's not really how it works, because as I said in the beginning, you can just decide that it's done and you'll be moved towards it. But it's really about placating the ego, because the ego's looking at the backstory. The ego's looking for something else to do. And that's why, you know, a lot of motherfuckers consume so much content. They try different techniques, but they're not applying the simplest principle, which is just decide and it's done. And if you notice an intrusive thought coming up, or you notice yourself start to spiral, you calm yourself down. You say, no, I'm not doing this bullshit anymore. Who the fuck you think I is? I'm God. Yeah, and one thing that I want to say, you said it's giving them more anxiety. Yes, because you're looking for a quick fix, but the manifestation is a lifestyle. And this is why that I said in the beginning, you have to understand that it doesn't shut off. So you can manifest something, but are you able to maintain it? And you're able to maintain it by being the version of you that already has it. And you're different versions of you depending on what app you're, you know, tuned into at the moment. Exactly. Not only is it done, it's done better than you expect. Hyperfixated on 369. I've heard that too with Tesla, and I mean, I don't know. To me, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of good content in regards to him, but I don't know. Like, he says the universe is constructed in 369. I mean, I tried to get into that, but it's really, you know, I feel like a lot of things are just overcomplicating it. It's like, who are you being in the moment? That's it. Because the simplest thing, right? And this is why, for me personally, I really resonate with a lot of things that Neville Goddard speaks about, you know, in his books and in his lectures, because he's just like, just assume that it's done and just carry on like your fucking life. That's it. There's nothing to do. And I've had experiences with that. I just made the decision. This is what's happening. I didn't lift a finger. I just did it. Or I was led to something that led to the thing, and it just happened. So it's really a matter of what works for you. But if you do have a belief system, I recommend affirmations to get rid of that belief system. And I recommend listening to affirmations while you sleep. Guys, I made a whole, I see a lot of SP questions. I made a whole thing, a whole big sermon in the beginning about SPs, but you have to be mindful of even what you're saying about the SPs now, okay? And I understand, like, you know, in the manifestation community, you're asking a question, okay? But you're still asking the question based off of your dominant assumption. So if you're saying that SP is acting hot and cold, you're still creating that. So you have to spin everything to your favor. And if you do have a belief system in regards to the SP, I recommend addressing that belief system and getting rid of that before you even affirm for SP, because the SP can come back, but if that belief system is still running and you haven't gotten rid of it, you know, you're not gonna be able to maintain that. And that, you know, that's just, it happens so frequently, okay? Someone will be manifesting an SP and then they'll, you know, show up, and then it's like the same thing will happen. So how are you viewing SP? No, you can't view them as being hot and cold. You have to say they're in love with me no matter what. But if you do have a belief system running in the background in relationships, that's where it's coming from, and you need to address that first, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree with that. No circumstances are special. Everyone, anything that you're seeing in the 3D right now can be changed, and it changes off of your perception of how you're viewing the 3D. So you can't, if you have a negative bank balance, you still can't view yourself as a broke motherfucker. You can't. And if your SP is coming in hot and cold, you can't view them as coming in hot and cold. And likely there is a belief system that you need to address in there of why you're just perceiving negative things in those sectors. If you feel disrespected and frustrated because you're saying that he ruined a beautiful day for you, oh, thank you for the heart. It's you that still has that perception. Do you see what I'm saying? You know, and I know with a lot of SP manifestations, it can feel very personal, but you have to think about what in you created that story that he did something, because SPs are not doing shit. They are irrelevant. They might as well be puppets. So what about that story ruined your day? It came from somewhere. And if you and this is with SP, you know, you have to be real with yourself, because I can understand, you know, all of your feelings are valid, and a lot of times, you know, people have been treated poorly, and no, you did not deserve that, but you still in a way identified as a version of you that could happen to. And you have to look at what you did to create that, because they are not doing anything. And to be honest, if anyone is having their SP be that much of a focal point that they're able to make your day or to ruin your day, you're putting too much emphasis on the SP. You're using them to boost your mood, and you're blaming them if you don't feel good. And it's not coming from them. They have no free will in your reality. It's coming from you. So why are you having this individual as the means to your happiness? There's something there, okay? There's something in there. I'm just waiting for the chat to catch up here. You have to assume, oh, thank you. You have to assume that everything is always going your way, and it doesn't matter what anyone else says, does, or thinks. It could be your parents, it could be your friends, it could be SP, it could be co-workers. They don't matter. Okay, they are still operating off of a belief system that you have about them or those types of individuals. So if I just saw a comment, someone said something about their parents. They don't think things could be better, but you do. So if you think things could be better, why does it matter what your parents think? You have a perception of your parents that they have a more negative mindset than you. So you have to change the way you're looking at them, that they're optimistic, just like you. You know, it's crazy how these belief systems are here, right? Because you can say that someone has a belief system, right? And that's still your perception of them. So they have to show up that way. So if someone is saying that their parents are strict, okay, that's still their perception. It doesn't mean their parents are strict. Maybe their parents presented in a certain way and then you just went with the assumption that they're strict. That's still your assumption. So for anyone in your life, if you believe that they believe something, oh, thank you. That's how they're going to behave, not because of their beliefs, but because you believe that, which is really trippy, but everything comes from you. You are the source. You are the creator of everything. So there is no one outside of you. There is no one. Ooh, thank you. Oh, fuck yeah. Holla. There's nothing, you know, there's nothing to do but change your perception of the person who you want to show up as more favorably in your experience, because that's just what it is. So other individuals, you know, their belief systems are still your expectation of what their belief systems are. Does that make sense? One of my earbuds just died. I guess he needs some charging, but it's fine because I got the other one. I don't even know how long I've been talking. I know it's been over an hour. You don't have to do voodoo or sleep with a paper under your pillow. Listen, okay, if that's helping someone, if they're feeling good about it, then, you know, I'm not going to knock that if that's what they want to do. But no, you definitely don't have to do anything other than just decide that it's done, you know. And like the quickest way is to just know that it's done, but a lot of times you're just not in alignment with that energy because of ego stories or because of logic. But manifestation is not logical, and I'm sure you guys, even you super logical motherfuckers in the chat, you super logical, but you still have had successful manifestations come through where you were just like, what the fuck, how did that happen? I just thought of it and then it happened. So there's your proof, and that's what you want to continue telling yourself. Like, yeah, I've successfully manifested before. I don't need to know logic. Here's the logic. It's worked in the past. Boom. And if you have a technique that feels good to you, no matter what it is, if you go in the shower and you turn off all the lights and you burn incense and you light a candle and you do affirmations for 30 minutes in the shower and you feel good doing that, it feels right, it feels natural, then you stick with that. Okay, there's no formula for manifesting. It's just about what works for you, because everyone's mind is different. Yeah, you've had the impossible happen, because nothing is impossible. It seems impossible to the ego, but, you know, higher consciousness is everything is already going on. It's all at once, so there's nothing that's impossible. You manifest money and it's not enough. How do you switch to getting more? You're going to say you always have more than enough money and you're always provided for. And you're not going to look at your bank balance in a frenzy and think that you have enough. You look at your bank balance, you say, oh, that's more than enough. It's about the way you word things. It's about the way you look at things in your 3D. Michelle, hey girl. Understanding 3D is imagine. Yes, everything is imagination. Everything. Yeah, this is happening because I'm getting what I want. Everything is happening because you're getting what you want. And the more you put a positive spin to anything that shows up in the 3D, it's just going to start working that way because you're training your mind to look for the positives rather than to fixate on negatives. And remember, there's nothing negative and there's nothing positive. Everything is neutral. It's still your perception, which is based off of who are you aware of being. So if you're aware of being wealthy, you're not going to care what is going on in your bank balance because you already identify as wealthy and you're like, everything is taken care of. I don't give a shit. If you are aware of the identity, that who you're being as a person who's in a healthy, happy, committed relationship, it's not going to matter if SP doesn't hit you back for an hour. You're going to be like, okay, they're in love with me. They're going to get back to me when they get back to me. Oh my God. Michelle, you're not going to spiral. You just got to be mindful and just say, everything is calm. I'm always calm. I'm always safe. My mind is always safe. Everything is always working perfectly, better than I expect. You know, it's really about being mindful of your thoughts in the moment. And especially, like, I just made a whole sermon about spiraling in the beginning. So when this goes on YouTube, definitely check that out. If you're saying SP left you but your friends, how do you get her back? You want to stop saying that she left you and you want to think of her in the most positive way that you can right now. So whatever the most positive thing that feels natural to your body that you're saying about her, she's in love with me, she's committed to me, or I'm always on her mind. You have to sense it out. Whichever phrase is sensing as the most natural to your body, you're going to make an affirmation out of that and you're going to continue with that. And you're not going to look at her as having left. You're going to say, she's right here beside me. She never leaves my side. She's addicted to me. She can't live without me. In general, what's the way to feel affirm like they're only into you? You don't need to feel anything. You know, but okay, guys, a lot of times with the SP stuff, if this is a pattern, you have to, you know, in my recommendation, you have to identify what the pattern is. If it's just an isolated incident to this one SP, did you have a story going on about them that was isolated to them, that they'd be the type of individual to do whatever they did? Because it's that story that created that. Because remember, okay, so here's something that sometimes can be asked, and it's like a tricky thing to answer, but I'm gonna like do it as best I can now. When you have a relationship app running in the background, okay, and you're dealing with an SP, but you have a shitty relationship, you know, belief system, okay? Let's say you think that you only attract narcissists. Okay, cool, right? That's the belief that's been going on. So SP is showing up perfectly, but you're aware of, you know, the narcissistic app running in the background. Oh, but they're a narcissist. Oh, but they're a narcissist, right? You might not have a specific thing that you think in regards to that SP, right? So let's say SP does something, right? Let's say they go and they cheat and they post stories with someone else and they say, you know, I left so-and-so for this motherfucker because that's what it is, right? You might not have thought that that particular SP was going to cheat and leave and post pics with another person and gloat about it online, right? That might have never crossed your mind. But because that can be perceived as something a narcissist would do, right? Oh, I was using them the whole time, blah, blah, blah. Now they're with someone else, right? Like that can be perceived as narcissistic behavior. You didn't think, right? Because some motherfuckers will be commenting and saying, but I didn't think SP would ever have done that. So maybe the thought that they would do that specific thing, that specific action did not occur to you, but your relationship app, you were still in the identity of someone who would attract narcissists. So you didn't necessarily sit down and think of a scenario that specific thing was going to happen, but you were still in the identity of someone that could happen to, and that's why that happened. This is why some individuals, they'll say that they were blindsided, that they never thought that the SP would do this, or they never thought that would happen. But they're not aware that they were still behaving as the identity in their relationship sector of someone who that could happen to. Even if they didn't think of a specific situation, that app was running in the background. So you really want to look at it as whatever happened with SP, it doesn't matter. But what in you identified as the version that could happen to. Do you see what I'm saying? Because someone who's solid and knows that they only attract individuals who show up perfectly for them, individuals who show up as monogamous and loyal and devoted and ride or die and everything, right? They might not specifically think that SP is going to take them on a trip around the world and then propose to them in front of the Eiffel Tower with a camera crew and then post it on social media for everyone to see and give a big, like, this is my boo, I love them. They might not have thought about that specific situation, right? But if they're solid and they know that their SP is in love with them and that they have good relationships and the SP is trustworthy and is devoted to them, they didn't create the whole proposal in front of the Eiffel Tower, trip around the world. They didn't create that. They didn't sit there and necessarily think of that, but they were still the identity. That's something in their relationship sector that could happen to them. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's about who are you identifying as. If you are the individual who's identifying as having good relationships, no matter what happens with the SP, it's still going to be positive because you're the version who is accepting that type of treatment. And the same thing for negative. So you might not think of a specific down to a T situation that transpires betwixt you and the SP, but you're still the version of you who that would have the potentiality of happening to. So this is why you're never blindsided. If you really think about it, if you really go in and you say, oh, I was identifying as this motherfucker, so that's why that happened. Okay? So someone who identifies as lucky with money, okay? Maybe they don't have a penny to their name, but money just keeps coming to them out of nowhere. They're like, what? Because that would happen to someone who is identifying as good with money. And the same thing, if someone is identifying as a broke motherfucker, they could be making 6 figures a year and still not have money because they're identifying as a version who could have a shit situation like that happen with money. So, I really, implore you, okay, to review your apps, and whichever apps are running good, but bro, leave that shit alone. I mean, you doing well with it, okay? Nothing to fix, right? But if there's an app that you don't like what is happening, ask yourself, how do I identify in this app? Who am I being? How do I see out through these eyes of the motherfucker who is? I don't know if that made sense. I think it did, but who knows? And I'm sober, by the way. But whose eyes are you looking out through that app from? Okay, as a motherfucker whose identity is solid in it, or a motherfucker who's identifying a place of lack? Just look at that, and you'll see. You might not create specific situations in your mind, but you're still the identity that something like that could happen to. Yeah, delete everything not aligned. I totally agree with that. And how you delete the apps is that you keep you know, you have to be mindful of the way that you're thinking in the moment, and you really have to be disciplined with yourself. That's how you change an app, especially if it's been going on for years. You have to be disciplined in the moment, and you ask yourself, okay, if a neutral situation happens, okay, SP didn't text you for 1 hour. Oh no, what are you going to freak out? If you feel yourself starting to freak out, you're like, who am I identifying as right now? That's it. If SP doesn't text you for an hour and you're like, yeah, they probably fell asleep. Who am I identifying as right now? And that's how you'll know you have changed, when your initial reaction is not like it would have been before. That's how you know. And you don't need to constantly affirm, but while you are in the process of switching these apps out, you want to be extra mindful of your mental diet, because that's how change happens. You have to just think differently. It starts with your thoughts. I don't know what's going on in the chat. I see someone saying you don't have to believe. I mean, guys, you don't have to believe anything. You don't have to feel anything. You can literally just decide, and it can be done. But even with manifestation techniques, okay, if someone is having a belief that you have to feel it real, then for them, that's the only thing that's going to work. Because they believe it. But you don't have to believe anything. That's all there is to it. You don't have to believe, you don't even have to affirm, okay? But if you believe that the affirmations are helping you and you feel good doing them, then you can do them. Exactly. You know, everything is a belief system. Everything, okay? Everything is a belief system. This whole matrix is belief systems, if you really think about it, okay? Or at least, you know, that's what resonates with me. Do I recommend anything to sleep to reprogram? I mean, what I would suggest for anyone is making affirmations in their own voice and then listening to that as they sleep. That's what I would recommend. So whatever affirmations you want to put in there, you could write as many or as little as you want, because remember, you don't have to remember them because you're listening to them as you sleep. You could just describe your dream life, put it in affirmation format or put it in story format. It's up to you. But I'd recommend your own voice, because your subconscious mind is familiar with that, and you can get as specific as you want to the thing that you are manifesting. Because, you know, there are some like affirmations that they're out on YouTube, whatever, sleep meditations, which is fine. If you feel good listening to them, then that's fine. But when you do it for yourself, you can get very specific to what you want. Steps on creating your own sleep tapes. You can download this app called Parrot, and it's really just a voice recorder, and all you have to do is just record your affirmations and you can listen to them. I mean, I would suggest getting a pair of sleep headphones that you can, you know, it's like a headband, and the earphones are flat so they don't bother your sleep. But you don't have to do that. You could just listen to it. You know, you can have it playing from your phone in the background. It doesn't really matter. But, you know, some individuals, they find that it disrupts their sleep. So, I mean, it really depends on you. If you can sleep with them and you feel good with that, they don't have to be on top volume. You can just play them at a low volume so it doesn't disrupt your sleep, and it'll still go in your subconscious mind. Self-concept. Someone said you must have self-concept. Then that's their belief system. Okay? Self-concept is important, but the way that I describe self-concept is not the way that I've ever seen it described, because I personally never resonated with that. So, how to tell if you need to work on self-concept, again, from the way that I speak on it, again, your self-concept is another belief system which has been going on. So it's like a knowing. It's your entire phone. It's not isolated to any one app. Your entire phone, it's you. When you wake up in the morning, are you feeling good? When you go to sleep at night, are you feeling satisfied? Or throughout the day, do you just have a pleasant experience? Are you mostly calm? Do you get along with people? Do you like what you see in the mirror? Or are things just typically, going your way? If that is the case, in my opinion, you don't need to work on self-concept. If something is isolated to an app, you are identifying as a version of you that is isolated to that app, which has nothing to do with your self-concept. It is isolated to the app. So you have to decide with that. But if, in my opinion, if you do need to work on self-concept, you're going to be, your days are not going to be pleasant. You might feel isolated. You might feel depressed. You might feel constantly anxious. You might feel lonely. Okay. You might feel that you're unlucky, that things just never go your way. And even if there are apps that are running well in the software of your phone, if your self-concept is shitty, it's still going to permeate those apps, because the apps are only, it's like on the operating system, right? So you might have a poor self-concept, but let's say you have great friends, but you still don't think highly of yourself. So there's still going to be an inkling that's going to creep into your friendship app, like, well, I don't really know, right? It's like, a good self-concept in general is going to amp the apps up, but you still might have an issue in there. And a poor self-concept is going to lower the apps, but you still might have an app that is running well, that you're like, okay, but at least you have that going for you. So you have to make the decision with that. And a poor self-concept is you're not feeling safe in your body, you're not feeling safe in your mind, your days are, you seem like things are just never working out for you, you constantly feel stuck no matter what you do. It's just like you're not having an overall good experience. And for that, I recommend not even focusing on any of the apps. I recommend focusing on you, because you have to be solid in yourself before even, addressing the other apps. That's my opinion. But not everyone needs to work on self-concept, because I remember when I first started being like into the manifestation shit, and there'd be like maybe one app that I wanted to work on. They're like, you have to work on your self-concept because you might not feel worthy and deserving. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm more than worthy and deserving. Fuck you mean I got, like, so for me that never resonated. And I think it can be confusing, because someone who has a good self-concept and knows that they're worthy of things, but it has an app running that they just want to work on, it's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, it's not going to compute, because it didn't for me. And that's why I explain it in the way that I do, because no one was explaining it that way. So if there is someone, right, who has a poor self-concept, with, let's say, their friendship app is running well, in the back of their mind, they still might be thinking that they're not worthy to have good friendships, that they don't deserve to have good friendships, because the whole phone for them is, not operating in a pristine manner. If your self-concept is good and you have a bad family dynamic with narcissist abuse, you need to start addressing that differently. And, if it's one person or if it's multiple people in the family, it's like, who is this centered around? And, it's up to you. If you still continue wanting to deal with this person, you don't have to, okay? Just because they're family, if they're really, not the greatest in your experience, you don't have to continue dealing with them. But if it's a situation where you kind of are dealing with them in the 3D, you want to, find a way to start looking at them more favorably. Or you can just say, I'm so happy that this person is, finally moving out of my life, and I'm so much happier. It really depends on where you're at and who that, if it's multiple people or if it's one person. Please do sleep hypnosis meditation on YouTube for general affirmations. I have a few on my YouTube. I do have one, deep hypnotic, which are, I think they're phrased in a question format, but thank you for the suggestion. If you enjoy my meditations, that's great. I always suggest, listening to your own, because you can get as specific as you want, but I know a lot of people, they just want to have like a background thing going on, so I'll see what I can come up with that. Yeah, the affirmations, they are very helpful. They can be, especially just to relax you. In your opinion, is it true that others can only focus on you if you're focusing on yourself first? To me, that's more of like a belief system. Number one, you ought to be focusing on yourself first, because you're the only creator in your experience. So if you're focusing on you, it doesn't really matter what's going on with anyone else, because you understand that you pushed out. So if you're in the zone, you're like, I'm so amazing, I'm the shit. Everyone is around you, whether you're consciously manifesting them or not, is just going to feel that way about you. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I do think that it can be a detriment if you're, let's say, you have a relationship belief and you're not addressing the relationship belief within you. You're just focused on SP. What is SP doing? I need to affirm for SP. Now it's like you're kind of putting SP prioritizing before you. So that would be, in my opinion, the only thing you wouldn't want to do. But if you're focused on you, everyone is just going to be reflective of the energy you're putting into yourself, because that's how you're viewing yourself, as you're the shit. So I think I'm gonna get off here in a bit, because I don't want this to take such a long time to upload to YouTube. Let's do one more question, something that can benefit everyone. Well, you should always, be authentic, because, if you're not authentic, it's like you can't really fake that. You know what I mean? Like you can be fake for a little bit, but that's why when Neville talks about feeling is the secret, it's like you're feeling the authenticity of how real the desire senses in your vessel. And whether you're angry or whether you're sad or crying, if you keep your focus on what you want, the feelings don't matter. You're being authentic. You're saying, I deserve more than this shit. Fuck that. I'm getting what I want. And that's authentic, right? Even if you're pissed off. So, that can work. So all right, I'll do this one, because this might be beneficial for, a whole bunch of people. How can you manifest for your child to have a bright and successful future? Okay, so this could be for a child, this could be for a parent, this could be for a partner, this could be for a best friend, whoever, okay? You can manifest for other people, because remember, the other person is you. So you always, whatever you want to manifest for this individual, you want to see them only in the regard that you want to see them. So in this case, if it's your child, you're just going to say they are so intelligent, they are so successful, everyone loves them, they get along with everyone, their life is perfect, their life is amazing. Like you would do that, like whatever energy you want them to have, you have to view them as that first, and you don't want to focus on any perceived flaws of this person, okay? And this can even work for SPs, okay? Let's say everything is good with your SP, but you want them to have better health, right? Then you're not going to view them as being sick, you're not going to view them as being out of shape, you're going to view them in the way that you want to see them. Same thing for child, same thing for parent, okay? If you want someone to have a healthy, successful, prosperous life, you're not going to view them from a place of lack, or from, let's say, if they have an ailment, or if they have, you know, something going on with them, right? Like a mental issue or whatever. You're just going to hold them in your mind as the version that you want to see, and you're going to stay there. You're not going to go back to, oh, they're so perfect and successful and amazing. Oh, but this happened. No, it's the same thing, okay? Because remember, you're still not changing that person. You're changing yourself to view them as being perfect and being successful, and then they have no choice but to show up for you in that way. And that's how you can manifest for anyone. And yes, you can manifest for someone else to have better health. You can manifest for someone else to be more abundant, because they are you. And how you manifest for anyone else is you view them only as that ideal version. It's you know, it's really interesting, because you're changing yourself. Your awareness is now on the perfection of them rather than on a perceived lack or a condition or a flaw. So, oh, you're welcome. Yeah, you know, it's the same for any person, okay? It doesn't matter what relation they are to you. If you want to see them in a better place in their life, you view them only as that. It goes for anyone. So, I think I am going to get off here, because I've been talking for a while and this is going to take such a long time. And I did answered my last question, and this will be on YouTube at some point. So stay tuned for that. And oh, that's great, you did that for your brother, now he's sober. That's good. Yeah, it works. I mean, you know. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, thank you all for being here, and for the likes and the questions and the comments, and for listening to my long ass sermon. And you know, I appreciate you all. I will be posting this on YouTube whenever, you know, that's how I'm gonna try to cut it short so it's not taking forever to fucking upload. And I will be posting on TikTok. It'll be on YouTube. So thank you all for joining me. Have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at. Good vibes to all of you, and I will talk to you soon.